Knock, knock, Ja-Mez.
I'm not doing that.
Come on, knock, knock.
I'm not doing it.
Come on! Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Corn him up.
No, thanks.
Corn him up.
I'm not 6 years old.
Just finish the joke
Did I already
yourself.
do this to you once before?
Twice.
I've heard it on the radio many
Oh,
times.
good. I love that joke.
Now you're gonna have like a whole bunch of people listening to this being like,
How does it go?
how does it go? And then they'll say it, and then they'll be like, that's a really
So say to
bad
me,
joke.
what you doing? And then, have you heard that one?
no.
Are you scared?
We're off to an awesome start here.
Are you gonna introduce, or are you gonna?
Hello, my name is Errol,
I'm Manda.
And I'm Ja-Mez.
and welcome to Three Geeks in a Pod, where we talk about all sorts of fun things in relation to geek, nerd, fandom culture, and possibly Manda's dating life.
And Errol's bowel movements,
And
evidently.
my bowel movement. We don't talk about my bowel movements that much.
Oh no.
You can read the comic for that.
Yes. So on that note,
This is a special episode because we are going to be talking about a year in review.
2012 and what happened during that.
And
So
maybe
by the
we'll
way,
also
since this will
touch
be-
on 2013.
Yeah, by the way, since this is going to probably be coming out early in the new year, Happy New Year to all of our fans.
Yes, Happy New Year.
And I hope all you guys out there had a great Christmas and Kwanzaa and Festivus and Hanukkah and all that other stuff. Oh, jeez.
Errol's
already
imitating
started.
me. And he's being amused by that.
I like how he couldn't even get through the impression of you without laughing. We've lost him.
Okay. I'm good.
So welcome to Three Geeks in a Pod,
Hello.
Hello.
where nothing we've said is even remotely geeky yet.
Yeah.
Oh, we can say something geeky. Say something geeky, man pants.
Star Wars. There we go.
Sound like Debs.
Anyway, so what are we talking about, Ja-Mez?
Well, usually we're a little more structured. This week, I thought we'd be a little more freeform because I've got a lot of topics, but none of them are sort of individual topics in and of themselves. So we're just going to go with a theme of, end of one year, on to the next year kind of thing.
Okay, so...
Normally we'd start with the news and then we move on to a topic, but
yeah.
I've only really got one piece of news, and then I've got a few other things that could constitute news, but it's more...
Okay, because
interactive,
I
so-
thought about my favorite things of 2012, so...
Yep, we'll get there.
Okay.
I've got a nice long list of things that I want to talk about, and I'm sure Errol had some things that we'll get. That's probably going to be our main topic, but there's some other things relating to 2012 I want to talk about.
Okay.
So we'll start with the one piece of news that I wanted to mention, and this is I'm only mentioning this because it's a very important person. Happy 90th birthday to Stan Lee.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, he's 90?
He is 90, and he almost. I was scared this year because around September, I think, he went in for very invasive heart surgery because he was hospitalized for heart condition. So I didn't think he was going to make it, but he's 90 years old, and I'm sure you guys all know who Stan Lee is. I don't have to explain that. If you don't, why are you listening?
know.
Okay.
He wrote the comic that I don't like.
He wrote many comics that you probably would like if you give them a chance. Including X-Men, Spider-Man, Daredevil.
X-Men.
There you
I
go.
haven't read them, but...
Although you probably don't like his era of X-Men. You're probably more familiar with the Claremont and later series.
Sure. Cool. Anyway, so he's 90.
Yeah, he's 90, and I just
Wow.
wanted to wish him a happy birthday because I love Stan Lee.
And he's listening right now.
He's not, but I still want to say my happy birthday to him. Yada,
Happy
yada.
birthday, Stan.
So what'd you guys do for Christmas? Did you get anything cool and geeky?
Oh, I did.
We know Errol did because
We know Errol
that's been
did.
everywhere.
I think if you haven't seen my year in review with Debs and Errol, that will show you all the different things that I got for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing my scarf.
That's okay.
Where's my
No one's
scarf?
noticing. It's okay.
I'm surprised you're not wearing your bowl on your
This
head.
gives me a chance to talk. Okay.
Yay!
I
you get?
I got a PlayStation 3. That was my
Did you
big
get the
gift.
super slim or the slim?
I think I just got the slim because
Is the front loading or is the top loading?
front.
Front loading?
Yeah.
But it's not the original PS3, it's the second generation.
Yes.
So you got the slim, not the super slim.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
the slim, and it's like 160 gigs, I think. And,
Yeah, I think that's what mine was too.
And so I'm really excited about that. That's my big
Yeah.
gift. I also got a board game called Betrayal at House on the Hill, which I love.
Nice.
Yeah, it's I won't go into it.
Yes, Errol, we have looming fan mail that you need to answer about
Yeah,
board
sorry
games
about
and-
that. I will answer that email.
And then I got a
I've
Wheatley
been
keychain,
knitting.
which was amazing.
You got, sorry, a Wheatley keychain?
Yeah.
What's Wheatley?
From Portal 2.
Oh, yes, I have not played that game.
Okay, it's cool.
Haven't you heard our song, Ya-Mez?
It looks like
You guys have many songs that I don't know the context to.
That's how Errol and I met. I asked him to write me a song.
I thought you guys did the 12 Days of Christmas.
That wasn't the first. Oh, you've
No,
never
no.
heard our origin story?
Yeah, I asked him.
I'm sure you have, but I probably
Well,
put
it
it
should
out.
be told now because 2012. Are you trying to speak, man?
So I got that. I got a. And have you played Portal?
No, I haven't played either Portal.
Oh, okay. I'll show it to you after. It's cool. Needless to say.
Is
You
that the
haven't
same?
played Portal?
No, I haven't played. Because all I have is PS3, and I think Portal 2 is the only thing that came out for it, but I can never find it for a decent price.
Oh, well, it's pretty. Okay. What did you get, Ja-Mez?
I got this nifty little device, which I was very happy about.
Oh,
I got
just
a new
like,
phone.
Oh, I knew that because Deb's got one.
Yes, but I paid for mine.
What's
She
the
got hers
nifty
for free.
little device? Because
Oh.
people can't see it.
It's
on
an
the
iPhone
podcast.
5.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh, did Debs get an iPhone 5?
No, she didn't.
No, she got
Okay.
a Samsung something or other,
Okay.
Galaxy
Oh,
something.
that's another thing I got. I got an Android phone, but it wasn't for Christmas because.
Well, yeah, I bought this.
Mine died.
Yeah, yeah,
My BlackBerry died horribly.
If
so
you follow her on Facebook, you would know that.
yeah.
yeah. We made fun of her.
So I had to.
Well,
buy
more
a
of
new
making
one.
fun of Errol, but
Why do you make fun of me?
Because it was your fault. Because it happened
Oh,
right
yeah,
after you
that's
called.
right. Yeah, I remember that.
I assumed that you were calling her so much that the phone just kind of said, "Nope, okay, I'm done,"
That's it. Done.
Done.
and just cacked out.
Anyway, so you got your iPhone.
Yep, I got an iPhone
5.
5, and then my mom got me a big set of it's this big like sort of book collection of like Star
Oh, I
Wars
saw
cross
those.
reference cross sections and blueprints and stuff, and it's kind of a cool visual guide. And then Marvel gave me a Christmas present.
Marvel? Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Of course. Yes, I know this.
Do you want to move on to that one?
Sure.
Or do you want to do the review now?
Well, yeah.
You can at least announce it.
Amazing Spider-Man 700 came out, and I thought I'd talk about that a little because Spider-Man's my thing, and this is the last issue. Yes, faint surprise, Errol.
So
So-
how was it?
Well, I actually kind of liked. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the outcome of what's happened, but I knew it was sort of coming. For some backstory for some people, about 100 issues before this one, in issue 600, they revealed that Doc Ock was sort of dying because
Dr. Octopus.
I know.
yes,
Okay.
he'd gone through years of being pummeled and beaten, and unlike a lot of other supervillains, he doesn't actually have any superpowers. Even though he's got his tentacles, he's still just a regular physical human being.
It has tentacles.
He has tentacles, but it doesn't stop him from when he gets hit in the head. It does major damage.
Like Batman.
Sure. And over the years, he's taken a lot of punishment from Spider-Man and other, superpowered heroes and whatnot. And he revealed that they revealed that he's basically dying, and his
It's like
body
Jackie
is.
Chan. Do you know how injured that poor boy is now that he's close to 60?
Yeah, but he chose his
He
career.
did, but a whole life of real life stuff like that is
Yeah.
like taking a toll.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Ja-Mez.
Well, basically, for the last 100 issues or so, Doc Ock has sort of been plotting and doing his thing behind the scenes and trying to come up with different schemes and getting other supervillains behind him, and all the while he's been massively crippled and trying to find ways to either carry on his legacy or find new ways to live, or various different schemes that have fallen flat. And they revealed about 2 or 3 issues before the last issue that he'd actually succeeded in one of his schemes, and we didn't even realize that he had managed to supplant his consciousness into the body of Peter Parker swapping places with Peter Parker, basically doing a mind swap. And as ridiculous as that seems, the story that kind of came out of that was far more interesting than it really should have been, but I thought it was really kind of interesting. Peter Parker desperately trying to find Doc Ock in his body. Peter Parker trapped in Ock's dying body with only hours to live. He kind of recruits his own team of supervillains to help him try and track Ock and stop him from, destroying everything that Peter stands for and get their mind swapped back before, his body dies. So Peter finally manages to track him down, but it's too late. His body's, just too far gone and he can't keep up the fight any longer. Doc Ock is basically winning and he's standing over him in victory, and Peter, with his last dying breath, figures out that the connection that they have between the two of them that allowed Doc Ock to switch places goes both ways. He's not strong enough to kind of trade places, but he is strong enough to force upon Ock. When they say you die, you kind of like relive your... You go back through your life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Peter Parker was doing that, but he was forcing all these images upon Doc Ock, who saw all the tragedy and the heartbreak that Peter Parker went through and all the terrible things that he's had to live through, and the fact that this guy who has basically done nothing but taken abuse his entire life still stands up to do the right thing time and time again because of the important message that Uncle Ben imparted upon him. So as Peter was dying and crossing into the light, to see all the people that he'd lost over the years and all the people who were now proud of him for all the things he'd done, Doc Ock was kind of left with this sort of mission statement that Peter Parker lived by, and he decided himself that in Peter's honor, he was going to live up to Peter Parker as best he could.
He was defeated by the power of love.
I guess you could say that in a sort of bizarre way, but I like the fact that Doc Ock is now Doc Ock as Peter Parker, because nobody knows, and that's part of the real tragedy of this is Peter Parker's
dead,
good and dead.
Yeah,
but nobody knows he's good and dead
that's
because
sad.
Doc Ock is running around as him. So not only does Spider-Man die, but he doesn't get to die a hero. He doesn't get to die.
Oh, that is
interesting.
interesting.
In a big gesture that most heroes would go out in, he goes out with a whimper and is completely gone, and nobody can actually mourn him because they don't know he's gone. So he dies without any sort of, recognition, I guess. No, he doesn't care, but as a fan, it's sort of, that was part of the, when they killed Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe, there was sort of a funeral procession for him where all the other heroes kind of mourned and kind of talked about, how important he was, and they didn't realize how important he was or what kind of impact they had on his life, and it helped the fans kind of deal with the idea that one of their favorite characters was, basically gone for good. And now that they've done this again, we don't get that opportunity with the mainstream Peter Parker because nobody's going to mourn him. No. They don't even know he's gone.
Right.
So I thought that was fascinating. I thought it was fascinating that they've left Ock with a legacy, and he's now determined to become a better Spider-Man, a superior Spider-Man to Peter Parker, and that's where the new title comes from. And
okay.
In the side title, Avenging Spider-Man, you actually see him put together the costume and come up with the ideas and how the tentacle, or not the tentacles, we were talking about this before when I was talking about the costume ideas when they were pitching the idea.
Spider-Man.
How Spider-Man had little talons coming out of his fingers, and it's part of a costume design that Ock came up with better web shooters, better lenses on the eyes so he can see better, and
also he's gonna be Techno Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Techno Spider-Man.
Although Peter Parker, to be fair, had been doing that since the Big Time storyline where he got a job at Horizon Labs and was a huge scientist and was using all of his nerdy scientist abilities to augment his suit and fight villains in cool, heroic ways. So yeah, that was basically Spider-Man 700. And I thought it was... I like the idea of where it's going. I'm sad that Peter Parker's gone. I'm sure he'll be back.
Bye,
There's no doubt that, at some point they're going to want him back, especially before the next movie. But it's just sort of... It's weird to be living in a world where Peter Parker is not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form.
Instead, it's this older guy. Well, he has the body of
Yeah, it's still Peter
Peter
Parker's
Parker,
body, and
but
they've started a whole new romance again with Mary Jane, which had been eradicated like 150 issues ago. And
it's like, well, now that's
yeah, well, she kind of confessed her love for him as he was going off to fight. I don't know. It's this whole side story
But
that's
won't
sort
she
of propped
find
up.
out eventually though? Because it's
Well,
one of
I think some
those-
people are kind of starting to figure it out because his personality is a little different.
Yeah, you'd
but
eventually sort of figure that out.
they will. But and I don't know. I still
How
think
is his
it's
personality different? By the way, is he like
well, he
more of a jerk?
He acts just like Doc Ock, who's more arrogant and sort of obnoxious.
Look
and
at me.
But was this
swinging
before or
around.
after, like, look, Peter Parker is a good guy? Before Mind Swap
No.
Heaven Light. Or the
Mind-
power of the light.
well, no, the
Mind
mind
swap
swap
happened.
happened.
You know what I mean, but the heaven
Yeah.
thingy bang.
They started to notice during the course of this issue, which is actually it's an oversized issue, so there's a lot of story in it. But I mean, some people started to notice a little bit that they're not calling him out on it yet, but I don't think it'll be long before some people figure it out.
So this is how it's going to continue? Like,
It's going to be Ock in Peter's body and his consciousness as
Okay.
Spider-Man for the foreseeable future, and I think they're going to try and play with that for a while and integrate him into the main Marvel universe as we've already seen his costume as one of the Avengers, and we know he's going to be part of this new Avengers roster that's coming out.
What? You mean in the movie?
No, in the comics.
No, I know, I'm teasing. Wouldn't that be funny, Spider-Man, because in Avengers?
Don't start that discussion. I've had that argument way too many times online. Spider-Man should not be an Avenger. He should not be an Avenger in the movies.
and
I'm
if you're saying this, then it must really be true.
well, it
You know what I
just
mean?
drives
'Cause
me
you
crazy.
love Spider-Man, so
But Spider-Man's a solo character. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't. It's cool. Yes, it's cool in concept to have him as an Avenger. There are some opportunities where they could use him as an Avenger, and if they actually utilize him for his strengths and abilities rather than just comic relief every so often, I could understand why he'd be on the team. But he doesn't add anything to the team as is. They don't utilize him in any way except for, look, Spider-Man's on the cover of Avengers. This issue will sell well. So it's always felt to me more exploitive than useful, and it just drives me crazy that he's there but not really necessity. So yeah, that's my
cool.
kind
That's
of semi.
your- that's
It's not
your
more of a.
reviews?
It's more of a look back, but it's not really a review. I guess I thought it was a cool issue, and
Oh, cool.
I'm semi optimistic about the future, but still at the same time disappointed that my hero's gone.
So if Marvel has like its its golden hero that pulls it along, who would that be? Just
What do you
like
mean?
pardon?
What do you mean?
Well,
Like their
DC.
flagship?
yeah.
Well, the Avengers have basically become the core of the Marvel Universe over the last decade. And they are far more, more of... It used to be that Spider-Man was their flagship. You'd see him on, his head would be on the little box in the corner of every cover. And, they'd advertise him in every book that they sold, whether it was Spider-Man or not. But, I mean, that's long since gone by the wayside. There was a period of time where Spider-Man was actually going to be canceled.
Why?
Because he wasn't selling well. And because nobody had any interest.
Even
and
though
that's
he
when
had
they-
like 5 comics?
At this time, I think he only had about 2, but they were neither of them were selling well, and they were looking to cancel the series. And this is about the time I think they reintroduced him in the Ultimate Universe and started over with that, while continuing the main universe, and it boosted sales for both series. And they got a really good writer on at the time, and it really helped both series along.
Cool.
But yeah, I'd say that the flagship title for Marvel now these days is Avengers, and Spider-Man sort of taking the back seat. I mean, he's a part of the Avengers, but he's not really central.
I just pictured Spider-Man in the back seat, like lounging there, just being like, "It's good to take a rest."
I'm sure I
You
could
guys
find a
got
panel
all
or two
the
with
work
that.
to do now.
And so who's DC's flagship?
Probably Batman, I'd say.
No, it's usually Superman.
Superman or Batman?
Batman doesn't usually take front and center.
Maybe because he's too dark.
But, there's like 80 movies of Batman, and more than half of them are at least okay, as opposed to Superman.
I'd say there's like 2 good Batman movies.
Which ones do you like?
So good in the way that what made money, though.
Yeah, but
That's what they
that's
care
not a
about.
good indication. Fantastic Four made money.
Yeah, well, there's how many movies of Fantastic Four are there other than 2, right?
3. There's
Is there
3 of them.
Oh, there's 3 now? Oh, wow, knows how much I paid
Well, no,
attention.
there's a 4th one on the works, but there was one made in the 90s
Oh, yes.
that was buried and never released, but you
that
still
one-
find copies of it.
That one didn't make money, though.
No, but I mean, the first 2 made buckets of money, and they were terrible films, so that doesn't determine quality.
No, but, like...
And your determiner was the good Batman movies making money, and then you requalified that as the movies that made money.
Well, I think
they all made
what
money.
What would they care about, though? I mean, like DC and Marvel. Wouldn't they put the people who are popular on as their flagship?
Not necessarily. The Avengers weren't popular before Iron Man.
No.
Iron Man was a huge gamble, and it became one of their biggest films.
Mm-hmm. No, but everything was a huge gamble. They were trying to do everything, weren't they?
Well, they keep trying to do different characters, but I mean, you're not going to have a huge gamble doing an X-Men film or a Spider-Man film. It's usually guaranteed those are going to make money.
Yes.
Of course, yes, Amazing Spider-Man didn't make as much as the other movies, but...
That's because it was too soon for a reboot.
I'm not going to have that argument again, but...
Okay.
It's... I disagree with that. I think it was the right time to start over again, but... There was a lot more going against it than just that. I mean, the 3rd film alone was enough to kill interest in the franchise, but it still made enough money that they're rolling.
But that wasn't like for actually. Well, the thing is also it wasn't done by Marvel. That was done by Sony, right?
Which one, the Amazing one?
The Spider-Man one.
Well, none of those were done by Marvel.
Yeah.
The only ones done by Marvels were the Avengers.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was Sony that was really pushing those ones.
True, but I'm not sure what your point is.
No, I just want to know who,
Technically, DC doesn't push any of their characters because it's completely up to Warner Brothers. DC doesn't have, until recently, had no say in what characters did what.
I mean, if you were like
it's
DC
the
or Marvel,
same deal as...
who would you put as your flagship if you really cared about sales, which they really care about?
Well, Superman is going to always be DC's iconic character.
Yeah.
Because Superman is the iconic superhero, regardless of what else is going on. Spider-Man used to be the iconic character at Marvel, but I mean, they've long since moved on to the Avengers, which is a little more encompassing of, all your favorite characters. You've got X-Men on the team, you've got the Fantastic Four and different incarnations on there, and I mean, you've got just about any other Marvel hero you can think of at one time or another has been an Avenger or associated with the Avengers, or, I mean, it's an endless pool of characters and talent, and right now it's central to their entire universe, and it's their biggest franchise. I mean,
is that it sitting there? You have
Amazing 700. Yes, you can look at it if you want.
Can I look at it? I won't take it out. I'll just look.
Oh, look how thick it is.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Number 7. Look at all of the Spider-Mans being drawn.
Spider-Mans.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess we should go. What's the other Spider-Man comic you have?
The other one is Avenging 15-1, which is the sort of it takes place immediately after 700, and it's basically about Doc Ock coming to terms with his new role and coming up with his new costume and being determined that he's going to be a superior Spider-Man to the Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay. So we should go into year in review?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so how are we structuring this exactly? Should we go by topics?
Well, I've got a whole bunch of stuff here we can talk about if we run out of, I've got a list of the top pirated films of 2012.
Okay, because I can talk about my favorite stuff.
Yeah, I thought we'd all go through some of our favorite stuff. I've got we can re-talk about some of the stuff that the biggest geek news, and when we started the previous podcast, Errol and the Ball Guy.
Yeah.
In the first episode, we talked about celebrity deaths in 2011. So I've got some of those again that we can talk about. Some people who were, it's not as long of a list as we had last time, but some people who I thought were worth mentioning that we can talk about. And then, there's some things from 2012 that I really thought was worth mentioning. And then I've got a long list of stuff from, that we can look forward to in 2013. And Errol's too busy flirting with his wife right now.
Errol's busy doing other things.
So, Man Pans, what was your favorite thing of 2012? Or favorite things?
Because I was thinking about it. It depends. Are we talking about stuff that came out in 2012? Generally,
I mean, it could be stuff that you discovered in 2012 that might be a little bit older.
Some of them I think I just discovered. Like if we're talking movies that came out in 2012, I think my favorite would have to be Cabin in the Woods.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard so many mixed things about that.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay, so I won't discuss it any further. But
Wow. We can't discuss it if
do you
you
know
are
what?
you planning on seeing it?
I will lend it to you.
Not really, because I like Joss Whedon, but I don't love Joss Whedon, and I've got a lot of issues with Joss Whedon.
Okay.
So
if you want to borrow it, I mean, like it's an interesting movie though.
Like right now, I'm going through, and I've promised I'd do this for years, so I finally sat down and did it. I'm going through all of Buffy.
I need to do that.
And
still.
Angel.
Not Angel.
Well, no, Angel's. It's kind of interesting because I'm at the point where Angel and Buffy are. The two series kind of go hand in hand, but not really, because they've got their own separate storylines, but there's so much crossover that depends on, because it aired back to back when it was airing, so you'd watch an episode of Buffy and then you'd watch an episode of Angel, and then something that happened in Buffy crossed over into the episode of Angel, and like there was one instance where Buffy, Spike discovered a ring that made vampires invulnerable.
Okay.
And the episode of Buffy was them trying to get the ring back, and then she immediately said, I know who I can send this to, and she sent it to Angel, who struggled with whether or not he was going to use it. And the same ring crossed over to both episodes, and it doesn't happen every week, but there is some interesting crossover if you watch them together.
Oh. See, I was sort of working my way through Buffy, but I mean, in terms of like, I don't know, I found the movie really funny and enjoyable and surprising, actually. I didn't know a whole lot going into it. And
I just know that it's a lot of the people who recommend it to me are always the people who it's the Joss Whedon fanboys, the same people who tell me how awesome Dr. Horrible was and how awesome Buffy
I do
is,
like Joss Whedon, but I can say that I'm not like a hardcore fanboy of Joss Whedon. So
neither am I.
This is a
and I liked it.
non-hardcore person recommending
This is
it.
the second non-hardcore person recommending it.
There you go. So that was my favorite.
I haven't even seen Buffy.
No, neither have I, actually.
Or Firefly.
I've seen like the first 2 seasons now.
Well, Firefly is awesome, but I have issues with the Firefly because I don't think it would have been nearly as awesome as people think. Long
Had it
term.
not been canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was canceled, we get to imagine whatever we want it to be.
That's a good point.
And then based on, how great the episodes we did get were, but we know from, previous series that Joss did and other things that he's done that kind of quality doesn't keep up, and I think Joss has a lot of problems telling long-term storylines, and
well, it's tough,
especially if he doesn't have a specific ending in mind, and he doesn't work towards that endpoint specifically. His stuff can kind of meander, and I'm told that season 7 of Buffy is really sort of what's continuity.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues where I don't even know the specifics, but I've been just told season 7 just kind of click off the brain and just drool and enjoy. So, I don't know. That's just, I have issues. I don't feel like he's the end-all, be-all. I like some of his stuff. I really liked Astonishing X-Men. I thought that was a really well-written comic.
Okay.
And Avengers was amazing.
Yeah, the movie event. Would that be your favorite movie of 2012?
Favorite movie?
Yeah.
Yes. Favorite event? Yes. Favorite thing? Yes. But I have other things that I want to talk about as well.
Okay.
Avengers is probably my biggest thing from 2012. Just because I'm shocked at how well that turned out. Because there were so many things going against it.
Right.
It's a team movie, which doesn't usually work out unless the team movie specifically focuses on one person.
It was a very hyped movie.
It was a very hyped movie. It depended a lot on varying different personalities coming together and working together, which doesn't always work, especially when those other individual personalities have had their own time in the limelight, and each have to have equal time in the limelight in this movie. And somehow he managed to balance all that. He managed to take a very ridiculous sort of story where these other things that shouldn't work together somehow do. Because you've got, a man of science, and you've got a proverbial god. You've got a guy who's basically...
2 men of science.
Well, you've got... Hulk, I was going to suggest, was more of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing rather than a man of science, but whereas Tony Stark is just purely... his entire shtick is just the suit and its science, and, And you've got Captain America, who's, soldier personified, and it's a whole bunch of things that you can kind of put under the umbrella of science, especially if you consider Thor not a god, but a extra dimensional being.
Yeah.
It does kind of work in science, but at the same time, it's differing ideas that you've got to try and mesh together in the same universe. It's different magic beans that you're trying to throw into the same pot, and I don't know. He just made it work.
Yeah.
Through humor, through
I still like
personalities.
Cabin in the Woods better than that one, actually.
Sorry?
Like what?
Cabin in the Woods better than that one. I liked Avengers.
Yeah.
I did, but yeah.
It's just I can't get over that I live in a world where not only Avengers is a thing, but Avengers as a movie is a thing. Mm-hmm. Avengers as a movie worked, but Avengers as a movie is the top movie of the year.
Yeah.
And one of the top movies of all time.
Well, especially if you look at superhero movies from some of the superhero movies from the 90s and stuff, which
And the fact that it's a superhero movie too.
Yeah, it's one of those wow, we really are in a
I'm not surprised that a superhero movie was top of the year, but it's going up against a Nolan Batman movie.
Yeah,
first of all,
everybody's expecting.
Yeah, it wouldn't outdo, but it did. Mm-hmm. Not by much, but enough.
Enough.
And it
got made fun of a lot less than the Batman Nolan movie did.
Well, the Batman Nolan movie also. Nolan movies have this tendency of trying to set themselves up as super intellectual movies.
Yes.
But when you actually sit there and try and break it down, it doesn't actually work intellectually. Like they sit there and they challenge you intellectually and they make you think about things, but if you actually sit down and think about things, it doesn't work. Like, how did Bruce Wayne get back from the cave of despair? And
Cave of despair.
He needs a knee brace to fix his knee, but his broken back he can repair with
he didn't have
a rope
but the knee
and gravity.
Brace disappeared.
Yeah, the knee brace disappeared.
It's like,
nobody
it works
addresses
now.
that.
For no reason.
And then there's all kinds of crazy things that just don't make sense. And the more you think about, even The Dark Knight, which a lot of people love, and don't get me wrong, I love it too. But if you actually sit down and think about the Joker schemes, they don't make sense. They don't work.
Oh, but he's crazy.
They require a lot of things. He's crazy, but they require a lot of things to go right at just the right time. This is A-team level sort of coincidence. That's
shenanigans.
Yeah, it just doesn't. In the A-Team, it kind of works because they're pushing that ridiculousness, but when you're trying to push this sort of grounded universe and this sort of realism, but then you have a character who's so over the top and his schemes are just as over the top, it kind of breaks your brain once you start thinking about it. Inception's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say I don't enjoy Nolan's movies, but they kind of shoot themselves in the foot by inviting that sort of intellectual discourse, but only so far, because once you start thinking about it, it breaks down.
I think mine's Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah?
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph was a big runner-up for me.
That was in my top 3 probably for the year, but...
I would think because it surprised me, and I was shocked by how good it was, and B, it also had heart. Are you okay, Man Pans?
Sorry,
you have a migraine?
Well, it's just my eye. Something's in it.
Oh, sorry. Did I do that with all this?
She's thinking about the end of Wreck-It Ralph.
There might be yarn fibers in my eye.
I'm sorry.
All this yarn.
I may or may not be knitting right now.
And who knew 2 of our favorite movies would be Disney movies?
Yeah, that's another thing, too. Yeah. It's a Disney film.
And neither... Well, one of them's a cartoon, yeah.
Well, neither one of them are Pixar films. Neither one of them are... usually when you say I love a Disney film in the last decade, it's a Disney Pixar film. So usually qualified as a Pixar film. Mm-hmm. And while this had a lot of influence from Pixar and a lot of... I really feel like the writing style was, picked up from Pixar, and, there was a lot of John Lasseter's hand in that. It was a Disney film.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best films of the year.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been able to say that.
I did like Wreck-It Ralph better than... I know we had the conversation about Brave and everything. I still liked Brave, but I liked Wreck-It Ralph better than I liked Brave.
Me too.
I like Wreck-It Ralph a lot better than I like Brave.
Me too.
So. And surprisingly enough, because, I thought they were just going to... Once again, just okay, it's going to have video game references. Hordy.
Yeah,
I thought that's all it was going to be, but I thought the video game references were really well done.
Yeah.
Some of them weren't just obvious sort of, okay, now there's the...
They had a reference to Tapper.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Not only did they have reference to obscure games, semi-obscure games, but they also had...
I knew them.
They also had little things built in there, like when we were talking about the first-person shooter.
Yeah.
They don't actually call that out. They just set up the situation, and unless you know first-person shooters, you don't get the joke nearly as well as someone who doesn't. It's a joke that doesn't need explanation, but it's a joke that isn't obvious. It doesn't beat you over the head with, hey, there's Bowser. We included Bowser in this.
Yeah.
Yep. Or for that matter, even like what is it, Sugarland? The Mario
Sugar
Kart,
Rush.
Sugar Rush. The Mario
Kart knockoff.
That was pretty
perfect,
funny.
actually.
That was really well done.
Yeah.
And I like that it was Mario Kart, but it wasn't so Mario Kart that it was obvious.
But it made sense, like, if you know a lot of Japanese stuff too, right?
Yeah.
It has
It's
that
like
crazy
random things come out, like
it's brilliant.
like
No,
Banana Sunday.
Yeah.
And it fit the theme really well. So it was like, wow.
And it really did feel like a modern video game with all the, the bright flashing colors and the, music and the...
Speaking of video games, I have a couple video games from 2012.
I had one on my list that I wanted to include too I think...
Should we go into video games next then, since it's Wreck-It Ralph and it makes it kind of a good segue?
Sure. I thought we'd just talk about these things randomly, things that we liked. And
Cool. How about video games?
the one that I wanted to mention...
You said randomly. I'm like, this is random.
the one I wanted to mention was the Walking Dead video game.
Oh, I was going to mention it too.
Which
That's her
wasn't...
favorite. I'm giving it away. Spoiler.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to mention it. I want to preface this. I'm not mentioning it because it's Walking Dead. I'm mentioning it because it's a fantastic video game unto itself.
Because I'm not a Walking Dead fan. I hate
No,
the show, actually.
and I am, but I'm not a Telltale fan. Like, I played the Back to the Future game, and it drove me crazy.
We played Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park I hear was really hard to
Back
get
the
through.
Future.
But I thought the mechanics of this game were really well done.
Yeah.
The story is so captivating.
So captivating. You got caught up in the action of it.
Yeah.
Like, again, you got so attached to the characters that when they
and every time a character died, you just felt absolutely heartbroken and
or shocked,
Yeah.
or the fact that you could actually get on board with the the main character and the kid having a good relationship, and
relationship was just so...
No spoilers.
It was just that relationship alone drove me through that entire game.
Yeah, the fact that you didn't get annoyed by the kid.
I love the kid.
That was a big thing.
I love the kid so much.
Kid. You're just like, she
like
was a kid.
every time Lee did anything that was sort of even slightly shady just to protect her,
I
was totally on board with it because I want to protect her too.
I wasn't.
No?
I was watching my friend play it, and he made all those choices too. Like, I'm not going to tell her. I'm like, no, she's going to get mad at you later for not telling her the truth. You know it.
Oh no, I always told her what was going. I was always straightforward and honest with her, but at the same time there was. Yeah. There'd be decisions that Lee would have to make. Lee being the main character, a black man who has a criminal history, who was on his way to jail when he was sort of
and then
met the zombie apocalypse.
Happened.
And he was sort of set free by the zombie apocalypse and met this little girl. And throughout the story, he's trying to protect her and find safe haven for them both.
But and the one of the other great parts about that game is that sometimes there are really tough choices that you have to make.
Yeah.
Like the who you decide gets food.
Yeah.
And it does affect how people treat you afterwards. Not necessarily the plot of the game, but it does affect how people will interact with you. And it's funny because I saw two people play the game, and in one version, one of the characters, Kenny.
Yeah.
You killed him.
Kenny hated us because we didn't.
Kenny seems very temperamental during that game. Like it's very easy to get him to not like you.
But with the other friend who played it, they were like pretty much brothers. You know, like he backed Kenny on everything, and Kenny backed him, and Kenny did get temperamental later on, but for good reasons. Which will not be revealed,
I found a lot of Kenny's choices to be kind of iffy. Like I agreed with him early on, but later on I found it really difficult to agree with him.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were some things that kind of really shocked me. Like there's one situation when they're in a cooler and they have to decide whether or not they're going to
kill a guy,
kill a certain character. I'm not going to say who or why or what, but it's a really tough decision, and it's a decision based on whether or not this character
is going to come back as a zombie.
Has actually died and is going to come back as a zombie, and you're locked in a cooler. You don't really have much choice. You don't really know whether or not this character's died.
Thing is a relative of his is in there with him.
Yeah, so you're making this tough choice of whether or not you're going to kill this character. You don't know whether you're killing him as a human being or you're preventing him from coming back as a zombie. It's such a tough choice, but I mean...
Yeah. So yeah, it's a really good game.
And I like that the choices that you make,
yeah,
they don't have an outcome on the story, but they have an outcome on your interaction with other characters. And that changes your... And
it carries over into the next episode, and it changes your it subtly changes the play. It doesn't, because some people did complain like, oh, it doesn't really change what happens. Like, it doesn't change.
It does, because at a certain point you need certain people on your side, and if you haven't been with them the entire time, or with them part of the time or whatnot, it's really hard to persuade them to kind of be on your side on a certain issue, or whatever event is coming out. Again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers because it's a game worth playing.
Definitely.
If you're not sure about it, there's enough there's enough what do you call those on YouTube, like when people play the game?
Let's plays. There's enough
let's plays out there. Watch the first chapter.
If I can recommend one, it would be a let's play series. It's Video Games Awesome.
Yeah,
they do kind of a commentary over it as well. But
yeah, I was watching PewDiePie, who usually does very ridiculous things.
PewDiePie,
not PewDiePie, PewDiePie. He usually does more ridiculous stuff, like he'll play Amnesia or something, and then just sit there screaming as the zombie or the monster's coming after him and stuff like that. But
it was funny with this.
Even he was like, at the end of the 5th chapter, even he was crying, and I was like, "Oh my god, this game is amazing!"
The guy who does this Let's Play, he's kind of he's a smart ass, and but at the end of it, it was all silence, and you're just watching him because you can see him playing it. You're just watching him like tear up. and then
it's really
and
emotional.
Then when it ends, you just say, "I'm not crying during my show. I am not crying during my show."
Do you know if there's going to be another series?
There is.
Oh, good, because I want to see.
I'm not sure whether it's going to be.
I want to see what happens to
I
want to see what happens to in the next series.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't want it to end where it ended. If it ended where it ended, I'm going to be so upset.
It was intense. So play the game. It's one of the best examples of.
And this is me. I don't recommend very many video games. I think the last game I was this excited about was Heavy Rain.
Oh, did you like Heavy Rain?
Oh my god, I loved Heavy Rain.
Okay, we have to talk about it after because I don't want to.
Sorry.
Have you not played Heavy Rain? Heavy Rain is one of those like bizarrely awesome games where it's all story.
Yeah,
and your gameplay is. It's not as important as. If you're playing Call of Duty, you're running around shooting things.
Yeah.
I get so bored by those games, but I got so captivated by Heavy Rain because it's story.
I'm one of the few people that, like, that's why I get excited when I find people who like the game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like part of it was misadvertised, I think, because I think a lot of people played it expecting some very heavy action, like an action-y game, and it wasn't.
No.
And it's a very good game. I love it. But anyway,
see, I didn't know anything about it until one of my roommates brought it home and started playing it, and I kind of got. He doesn't live with us anymore, so you don't know him. And he brought it home and he was playing it, and he got really bored of it really quickly. But I kind of just got pulled right into. I don't get pulled into video games.
Well, it's
like
nice
the kind of video games I normally like to play is like Super Mario Wii, where it's just it's the old Mario games all over again with new twists and new puzzles and new jumps and. I don't play the new games. I don't care about Halo 4. I couldn't care less about Skyrim. I don't care. The only the closest I think I get to games that actually kind of excite me are the Final Fantasy games because there's a story, but they're so long that I get bored and kind of.
Well,
and that's the great thing about
it's only
the Walking Dead
game
and
really.
and Heavy Rain, where it's so plot driven that it's just sort of everything you do drives the plot and everything like. The choices you make or the things you forget to do.
Higher stakes, I think, because if you die, if one of your characters dies in that game, that's just it.
Or if you fail a puzzle,
you
don't get a second chance at the game.
It just goes on.
It goes on, and you failed that puzzle, and it's really important because the entire crux of the game is you're trying to find your son, and you have to solve these very difficult puzzles. To get coordinates for where your son is.
Sometimes is a loose term. Sometimes it's
just going up and shooting a guy.
Please avoid this electric fence.
Yeah. But I mean, with the button combination, it's sort of a puzzle, and that was the thing I did find most frustrating was the controls. But I mean, you kind of get over that enough that. Oh.
But I have to talk spoilers with you after because. Oh man, it's an intense game.
It is. It's an amazing game.
The other one actually I wanted to mention was sort of like that in that it's not really a game, but it's one of my favorite ones of 2012. It's more of an interactive story. Oh. And there are game playing elements about it. You do control characters.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You do wander around. You do pick up things. You pick up items, but it's called To the Moon.
To the Moon.
And it's actually...
Is this a PC-based game? Or
it's a PC game, and it's actually kind of like in the style of an old RPG game.
So it's like a top-down view sort of thing? Okay.
But one, it's hilarious. It's also very heartfelt. And I downloaded it one day when I was sick. I was at home, and I needed something to while the hours away while my sinus is cleared and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I know that feeling.
And so I started playing this game, and I could not. It's about the basic premise of it is that there are these two scientists, and their job is they basically go to the dying, and say someone who's on their deathbed, for instance, will hire them, and they can go into your mind and basically give you a second life. So if there was something that you wanted to do that you never did, then say like you're like, I always wanted to, become an archaeologist or something. So they'll go back. So they'll work their way through your memories and then find a moment when they'll plant a seed, and then in your head you'll live a whole life again. Huh. But it'll basically be the last thing you do. And because the process is intense. Yeah. So the game is they go to this mansion, and there's this man who's dying, and he's unconscious by this point, but he hired them because he's always wanted to go to the moon. So they're like, okay, we'll make him an astronaut. So basically you spend the game going backwards through a man's life. And wow. It's like watching the first 5 minutes of Up, but through, for an hour and a half, for a couple hours. And it's fantastic. I really recommend you play it. And
it's called To the Moon?
To the Moon.
I'll have to look that one up.
It's,
Is it like super graphics? If it's top down, I'm guessing it's probably like very simple graphics.
Oh, yeah, very simple graphics. It's only a $10 game at most, I think. And
Number 3!
Number 3 is done.
Errol's finished his third Knit Totoro.
So now we probably will talk. He's been like just sitting here knitting. We've actually gotten sentences out. It's amazing.
We've got an entire topic out without him.
But it's one of my favorites of 2012. It's one I've actually played for one, and I'm replaying it now. And it's not only heartfelt though. The two main characters are hilarious, and you really relate to them. Okay. So please play it. So we'll go on, I guess. Otherwise I'm gonna keep going on about it.
No, I mean.
Terraria. I don't know.
Is that your favorite thing of 2012?
I loved Terraria. I played it for many hours.
Many hours.
Drilling. I don't know what it is about me and...
We went back on Terraria recently, and we were on Skype while we were doing it, and so I was like, oh, Errol, okay, we're back in Terraria. What do you want to do? Do you want to fight? And you just heard like... dig. Oh, he's drilling.
I can't help myself. I just want to drill the world out.
He wants to make the world hollow. Those were his words. But now that we found the Frost Legion, we want to make a giant candy cane.
Well, now that I knit, I just want to make...
Now you don't just want to make knit Totoros. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Poor Jackson.
Boy. Poor Jackson, yeah. Jackson loves playing games. I do too.
But now I'm knitting all the time.
Yep.
We got so much stuff going on. Gonna break it up into 2 episodes. So that's the end of episode 1. Join us next week.
Can we do take 2 on that? Hey guys, we're gonna actually break up the episode here because this is kind of a long one. So we're gonna continue this topic next week. But this is gonna be a two-part look back at 2000.
Errol, shut up.
A 2-part look back at 2012, and I look forward to 2013. And yes, next episode we are going to look ahead to the year coming and all the fun stuff we're looking forward to, and we even have a little bit of news
next week. We do. We just recorded it.
Thank you for giving that away, Errol. You're ruining the magic of the episode.
Oh boy!
So
a lot of magic this episode.
Yes. So we'll see you guys next week.
My name's not Trev.
My name's not Errol.
My name's not Manpants. You messed that one up on me, Manpants.
He started it.
I know. I didn't mess it up. We were good.
We were good. for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at 3 Geeks in a Pod. That is the number 3. Or you can like us on Facebook. Get all the news and updates about podcasts and videos and other announcements in our blog, 3geeksinapod.wordpress.com. Again, that is the number 3. Stay in touch with friends and fans in the forums at our sister site, debsanderrol.com. Or if you want to contact us directly, email us at 3geeksinapod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next time.